For thousands of years, the Jedi Order on Tython trained their warrior monks in both the light and dark sides of the Force, a concept inspired by their moons, Ashla and Bogan, as well as the balance required for their world to prosper. Yet when the Infinite Empire invaded the system, a new philosophy was showcased through the famous General Dagan Locke, who proudly embraced the dark side as he led their armies to victory. After winning the war, a schism formed in the Order, with Dagan convinced the dark side was the only way they could properly defend themselves from merciless enemies, while others reacted oppositely, sickened by the violence they witnessed, dedicating themselves to peace in the light side. Tensions eventually gave way to the decade-long Force Wars, where light side forces emerged victorious, while their surviving enemies fled and scattered throughout the galaxy. Reorganizing themselves into the light side Jedi Order, they abandoned Tython and settled on Ossus, establishing an alliance with the Galactic Republic, an emerging superpower from the core worlds. Focusing exclusively on the light side, the Order trained their students to abide by a strict interpretation of the Force, eventually leading the respected Jedi Knight Zendor to speak out against their rigid and dogmatic beliefs, claiming they stifled progress and innovation. A member of the Kashi Mare dynasty, exiled from his homeworld for studying the dark side of the Force and combining it with his knowledge of Teras-Kazi, a deadly martial art, Zendor continually sought to broaden his understanding of the Force, and so made his way to the Jedi on Ossus, where he trained for a time in the light side, excelling in his studies to become a Knight of the Order. Yet despite his accomplishments, Zendor felt uneasy as he saw much throughout his life that did not necessarily adhere to the strict light side philosophy of the Jedi, including a planet where the Force was represented by a dark side son, light side daughter, and father who kept balance between them. Seeking to reform and advance the Order, Zendor spoke out against their traditional teachings, adamant that the Jedi must study other philosophies and consider change in order to grow and prosper as an organization. Sharing his ideas with Arden Lin, a woman with her own unique background as a follower of Palawa and master of the Teras-Kazi martial art, which Zendor so admired, the two fell in love and worked together to spread the word about their beliefs. Earning the title Steel Hand of the Palawa, Arden Lin left her people to join the Jedi Order after hearing an oracle's prophecy directing her to Ossus, where she met Zendor, becoming his most fervent supporter. Seeking to break free from Ossus and follow their own path, Zendor approached the Jedi Council and asked permission to form an academy on another planet, where he would teach multiple Force philosophies in addition to traditional Jedi teachings, including that of the Chedos Academy, the Daibendu, the Palawa, the Kashi Mare, the Bogan, the Keldor Sages, the Way of the Dark, and the Protectorate of the Hidden. Yet as was expected, the Jedi Council would not consider such a radical notion, rejecting his proposal. Unwilling to abide by their closed-minded judgments, Zendor and Lin left without permission in 24,500 BBY, starting the first Great Jedi Schism by founding a school on the planet Lettow, where students gradually trickled in, as growing numbers joined in their departure from Ossus. Despite the Jedi Council's insistence, the light side was the only acceptable path to study the Force. Many within the Order agreed with Zendor and joined his renunciates, embracing the more open-minded, individual-based philosophy of the Legions of Lettow as they became known. Speaking out against Zendor and his followers, the Jedi Council named them dissenters and started arming for war. Responding to their aggression, the Legions of Lettow gathered their own forces and launched a preemptive strike, attacking Ossus directly in the hope of ending the war quickly with as few casualties as possible. Yet the Legions lost the battle on Ossus, and so the fighting spread throughout the core, with battles on Chandrila, Brental, Coruscant, and Metelos. Though the Legions put up a valiant struggle, they suffered from a fatal disadvantage, stemming from the root of their philosophy, fighting as individuals against the Jedi who combined their strength through battle meditation. Seeking to rob the Jedi of a valued ally, General Zendor reached out to the Republic, warning that the Jedi would cloak themselves as protectors, while waging war and taking the levers of power for themselves, but his claims were ignored and communication cut off. Taking the fight to their enemies, Jedi forces were led by the Green Blade, Master Adrista Pinna, who at last defeated and killed Zendor at the Battle of Columbus, where it was said the general's spirit fled into the dark, rather than be drunk and destroyed by the Green Blade. Closing in on Lettow, now led by Arden Lin, the war was all but over, and so the legions accepted defeat and scattered throughout the galaxy. Yet even so, the Green Blade would not settle for victory alone, and so chased Arden Lin to the planet Kala for a final confrontation. Channeling all her rage and other powerful emotions through a special Kashimir talisman that belonged to her love Zendor, Lin caused her opponent's sword to explode, launching pieces into Master Pinna, who collapsed with fatal wounds. Yet even on the verge of death, Pinna would strike back, gathering the last of his strength to perform his much-practiced Morikro Force technique, which subdued Lin's life energies, causing her body to fail and enter a form of stasis, where she remained for over 24,000 years, until found by those working for Darth Sidious, ruler of the Galactic Empire. Recruiting Arden Lin to serve as the Emperor's hand, he promised to resurrect the spirit of Zendor in exchange for her cooperation, but when she at last realized he was lying, participated in an attempted coup. Failing to defeat him, Lin fled, but was eventually found and destroyed by Darth Sidious. As for Zendor, his spirit most likely remained lost, though some believe he did in fact return in the form of the Dark Underlord, who reigned as a mighty Sith Dark Lord around 1750 BBY, founding an order of Black Knights which waged war against the Republic, until he too was defeated and killed in single combat against a Jedi Master. Yet whatever happened in death, his life was one of significance, as it represented the first great schism in Jedi history, beginning a pattern that repeated many times over, with their strict, light-side philosophy, inspiring continued rebellion and opposition, leading to the formation of organizations like the Sith Order, and thousands of years of conflict between those who followed the light and dark sides of the Force. A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X, like PB Zelos, The Dark Trollin, Sith Ben 24, Barachado, and Lady J Booknerd. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/civilizationx, where you can gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.